is Dan Brown. My pronouns are he, him. I'm playing a game with these fine folks called Ares Ascendant. This is a Paragon playset that I designed about settling a colony on Mars. You've joined us shortly after we did our quick intros and to the game, and we did a little palette exercise to determine what's in and what's out. And I am just about to go over safety tools with these folks, and then we will do intros and character development. So thank you for joining us. This is part of the Gauntlet Community Open Gaming session. I use 3 safety tools. The first one is called Open Table. You can walk away from this game at any time. None of us, especially me, will be personally offended. If you are not comfortable or if you've got something else more important in your life calling you, please, by all means, walk away. If you can, let me know when you're coming back. If you're coming back, that would be great, but it is not necessary for you to do so. If I need to walk away, sometimes I get called away by the other members of my household. If I need to do that, expect me to be gone for about 10 minutes. If I need longer, I will message you. And if I don't come back, we can just call the game is over. So that is Open Table. The next one is called Xcard. Xcard is a tool that we use to when we want to highlight topics or directions that the narrative is taking that make us uncomfortable or that we just don't like. The dice roller that we will be using has an Xcard tool built into it, and I will post the dice roller shortly. We can also say, I'm going to Xcard that. We can type X into the chat. We can hold our hands up. Whatever you need to do to stop the narrative. And we will then pause. We'll rewind a little bit and we'll go in a different direction. If you can tell us what made you uncomfortable, that would be helpful, but it is not necessary. I've had folks Xcard all manner of things. My favorite example is I came up with a random NPC name and someone Xcarded the name of the NPC because it reminded them of an X. So here we are. And it was fine. And we just came up with a new name and we kept going. I was playing in a game last week and another player Xcarded an idea I had, and I was really glad they did because I was not proud of that idea. So this is something that everyone should feel free to invoke. It's also not something you necessarily need to evoke in the moment. If during a break or a little later in the game, you realize that something has been making you uncomfortable, Xcard it in that moment, and we will redirect the narrative at that point. We're all just making up a story as we go along. The third safety tool that we use is called Lines and Veils. We use a spreadsheet in our character keeper. It's under Safety and Resources. There's a list of, let's just call it controversial or uncomfortable topics, and you can line them or you can veil them. To line a topic means that we will not raise it at all in our game. To veil it means maybe it's okay to happen, but it happens off. Maybe it's okay to refer to it, but it happens off screen. If you've read any young adult novels, you'll be very familiar with what veiling is. As soon as a moment of intimacy arrives, we fade to black. That is what a veil is here. So I'm going to give you all a moment to go through and check off the various lines and veils. If there is something that has been both lined and veiled, we obviously use the stricter version. So I went over 3 safety tools. I went over them fairly quickly, but I will now pause and ask, does anyone have any questions or any clarifications they need?
No.
Are there additional safety tools that we should consider using that you like?
You're using the same 3 that I tend to use, so I'm perfectly comfortable with these.
Fantastic. Maybe I learned them from you, Mike. It feels like something that might have happened. I just posted the link to our dice roller in the chat, and Darren and I have played many a Paragon game, and we have found this dice roller adequate for our needs. If you are not, I know, Mike, we've played in one of my Paragon games Horst, have you played Paragon before?
I haven't.
Okay. So this is a dice pooling system to end all dice pooling systems. Uh, when we get to the climax of the scene, each of you will put together a dice pool for your characters. You will roll a bunch of dice and you will add the top two results together to see if you beat a difficulty number. That is sort of the long and the short of it. Putting a pool together is an involved process. And I've walked now dozens of people through this process, and I'm happy to do it. And it is not a problem. And as far as I'm concerned, it's very much a part of the game. So I did try and embed some prompts in the character keeper to help us know exactly how to do that. But just to give you a sense of what's going to happen, we'll tell a story. We'll get to a good part where we'll say, okay, now it feels like a good time for a die roll. I will roll some dice, you will roll some dice, and then we will sort of narrate the aftermath of that. But just to warn you, putting together like that process of putting together a dice pool could, across all four of you, could take sort of 10, 15 minutes. Like that's how involved it could be. So just to set expectations. All right, great. I'm ready to create characters. Did anyone else have any other questions, thoughts, or concerns before we do that? All right, for better or for worse, I like doing this fairly step-by-step. So we're all kind of on the same page. So in the character keeper, we're just going to work our way down. You can enter your player, your name, and your pronouns in that first row. And in the Paragon system, there are kind of three main dice. There's your name die. In Agon, which is the original Paragon game, you have an epithet, like the swift-footed, and a domain, set of domain dice. In this game, you have a name, so you will always invoke your name. Then you have politics, which sort of guide your actions. And what we'll do is when we're putting together a dice pool, you'll describe how have the politics guided your actions here. And then you'll get to add that politics die. So I'm seeing we've got names in place. You can name your character last. I know people like to name their character last. I've put it here first. So if you have an idea for a name, feel free to drop it in. You can drop it in at the end, or we can do, I can find a name generator for you. I found, gosh, fantasy name generators never fails to deliver. I found something called futuristic names. So if you need some inspiration, there they are. The game I ran yesterday was based on the movie Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And I found hillbilly names. And being from the Northeast, I'm not sure if that is offensive or not, but it was certainly useful. All right, so once you've got a name in mind, you can pick politics. There are two components to the politics. There is what I call your terraforming perspective and your governing perspective. So I think governing is listed first. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Terraforming is first. So one of the things that was clear in this genre of books is that people develop different attitudes towards what we should do on Mars. Should we just sort of make as little impact as possible, taking a conservation attitude? Should we not take anything at all? Should we try and preserve Mars as pristine as possible? Or should we just let it rip and try and transform Mars into another Earth? So I've put those descriptions in the chat window in case you need those. Transformation is obviously the most extreme. Preservation would make it very difficult to survive. And conservation, I guess, kind of walks a middle line. The governing perspectives should be familiar to everybody, but generally speaking, the idea here is: are we going to Mars to create, to preserve our kind of capitalistic way of life and have the market govern? Is this just an extension of the economies, political economies that we deal with on Earth? Or is Mars an opportunity to create a more egalitarian utopia? I will not judge. I live with two economists, so, and a teenager. So I get the full range of politics here.
I don't know if I want to derail this by putting on my politics hat, but instead of, because it says on my Twitter profile, the two things I talk about are the two things that I tend to talk about are role-playing games and leftist politics. But
now's your chance. Now's your chance to either embody or to try something new, to wear a different pair of shoes or something.
I know. I know we're like really in the early stages of this game. Can I give a teeny bit of feedback on this?
Yeah, of course. Yes, please. Yeah, this is our first playtest.
Communist capitalist, that's economic system.
That's true.
Is also because this isn't talking anything about what our governing model is or what governing model we want to talk about. So just piece of feedback. I mean, communist capitalism, very important. But that's our capitalism versus communism is an economic system, and you can have, and we do have in the world, we have capitalist authoritarian governments. Well, we have capitalist democratic governments. We have communist authoritarian, and we haven't had as many communist democratic governments for real, but those are all possibilities. So
maybe we will build one on Mars. Yeah.
So at some point, so like just a little bit of feedback, since this is a playtest. You might want to put a third column in there that invokes like how we actually govern ourselves, not as opposed to what kind of economic system we want to have.
That's good. That's good feedback. Thank you.
And I'll take that hat off now.
Oh no, I was exposed to leftist politics.
Aaron, we come to learn. We come to grow. All right, look at us.
Apple pie wilted and died.
I'm trying to blend capitalism and preservation, but I think it will probably fail. So I'm looking at the other options, and I'm trying to make as much tension as possible to pick the one transformation model that hasn't been picked. But I think I will go for.
Yeah, do whatever you personally will find the most fun to play. I want you to feel comfortable doing it.
But if we have like 4 communists and they all want the same thing, that seems a bit.
That is good feedback.
I have decided that I'm going to play myself against type, and I'm going to be Mr. Capitalist Tech Bro. Money is good. I want as much as I can, and this is a massive investment opportunity. We need to extract as much as we can from Mars because nobody else is here, right?
Right, you're the first ones there.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and I will say too, though, I've definitely seen some communist fights in my life where,
Oh boy!
Yeah,
I think the leftists. I think the biggest enemy of the left are other leftists.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to move on. I knew that would be the hardest part. Domains represent sort of different areas of expertise. Again, the original version of this game is called Aegon, which is where you play a Greek hero working in service of the gods. And the domains there are more like there's combat, obviously, but then there's kind of art and science and poetry. Here, these are sort of the different areas in which you will operate. All of these will start as a D6 except for one. You can pick one to get bumped to a D8. So it looks like Tori's already bumped her technology and engineering to a D8, which is great. You can choose the same ones. You don't have to choose the same ones. Just so you know, the way this game works is the GM chooses the domain of the contest. So if you all are doing something out on the surface of Mars, I might call that a technology and engineering contest, and you all have to roll that D6 or D8 or whatever is in that slot. All right, so once you've picked a D8 for one of those, we're going to skip down to line 15, benefits. Each of you. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
I was just wondering, Horst, what are you thinking for your specialty?
I picked scheming and politics.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't understand physics, so.
We can change. I could do astrophysics and hard science if you find that interesting.
Dan, we're going to hand wave that stuff, man. Don't worry about it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You do not owe me an apology for not knowing physics. I'm dreading when my son takes a physics class.
I love physics.
I will have him call you.
Okay. As long as they do it in meters.
I started college as a physics major. I
Oh,
ended
wow.
as a European history major.
I'm a psychologist, so yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to apologize now.
Moving on. So now you have an opportunity to fill in your character's talent and training and assets. You should each do one. So one column of each. Adding another, sorry, Tori, adding another would be an advancement. He's from Wisconsin, which is, I mean, I'm from New York, so that's practically like being Canadian if you're from Wisconsin.
Dan, you're down in the city, right?
I actually live in Washington, D.C. now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I was born and raised in New York. You can take the boy out of New York.
Got it. I live in upstate New York these days. So.
Okay.
Oh, we're in upstate.
Ithaca.
You said Ithaca?
I'm in Ithaca. Yes.
I'm originally from Syracuse.
Ah, okay. I was just in Syracuse a couple of weeks ago.
A New York trifecta on the call. All right, so you're adding a talent. This is sort of like thing that you're naturally good at. Training is sort of your education. An asset is something like something that you have access to that's useful. The book on page 8 has a pretty good list for these. I will see if I can cut and paste these in. Oh, that came out pretty well. So you don't have to pick from these lists, but they give you a good sense of the kinds of things that I was going for. So again, training is more kind of things that you've been educated about. Talent is sort of a natural knack for something, and assets are things that you have access to, like a vehicle or data or political connections or additional crew, things like that. What's going to happen is that
And we're
ahead.
picking one of and we're picking one of each of the three categories.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. It's a little different from how it works in Aegon, but we do what we need to do to adapt. And honestly, once you fill those in, we are largely done with the mechanical things. I'm gonna realizing now I needed to add.
Is it assumed that we're going to have contact with Earth in order to do politics and whatnot?
My assumption, so it's a good question. We should decide what the colony's level of contact with the Earth is. So maybe after we do some introductions, we can talk a little bit about the state of the colony as it is and what sort of connections it has to Earth. But I don't have any assumptions about that, pre-existing assumptions about that.
And I just looked it up. The time it takes a radio signal to get from Earth to Mars or vice versa depends on where the planets are in their relative positions to each other. It could be as little as 5 minutes and as long as 20 minutes.
Okay.
And if they're directly across, and if they are directly opposite the sun, it's going to take it's probably going to take longer because there'll be a whole lot of radio interference from the sun.
Awesome. All right, so if everyone is more or less ready, we can start doing some character introductions. Some of you have not named your characters yet. So now would be a good time.
I know, the dreaded moment where I have to pick a name. It's the worst.
It is the worst. Especially when they're like, you're playing regular people and not hobbits or whatever. Actually,
I have literally referred to my, at this point, like 10-year-old dead tree phone book to help me generate real people's names.
when you hold that up to the camera, people are like, what is that thing? All right, so I found an English name generator. That's helpful. All right, so if we're ready, we'll go down character keeper order. Introduce yourself, your pronouns, your character, their pronouns, and just give us a sense of what they're all about, the overall concept. And if you've got a little bit of a backstory in mind, you can start to tell us a little bit about that and any other kind of things. If you can explain why they have their particular political position, I would be interested in that too. So, and tradition among Gauntleteers is to rename their Zoom name to their character name. So once you've got a character name, you can change it, just as Horst has done. Horst, you're first in the character keeper. Do you mind introducing yourself and then us to Isabel?
I'm Horst, he, him, and I'm playing Isabel Owen. And I don't know much about her yet, obviously, but she's an engineer, and she's very enthusiastic about Mars. She sees it as an opportunity to realize probably some kind of libertarian capitalist system with the maximum freedom for everyone, with like limited state or no state control, probably. She is, let me see, she's very perceptive. I think she can read people very well. I want to say that she's probably rich. Maybe, yeah, she has invented something, you know, self-made woman, invented something, very proud of it, sold it for, you know, huge amounts of money, and she has quite some connections to the economic sphere, to big, probably like capital investment firms and stuff. But she's also she wants to not preserve, but she wants to keep parts of Mars pristine. More from I don't know, like an aesthetic point of view, I guess. So the whole idea of keeping the whole planet like pristine is obviously stupid, because people have to live there and the planet has to adapt. But she also thinks that there's value in having parts of the landscape exactly as we found it.
Interesting. What do you think? How did she end up on this mission? Like, what was special about her that sort of suggested that she would be good for this mission?
I wouldn't be completely surprised if she. I mean, obviously, she has the engineering talent, which gives her, you know, an edge over other people. But if there was even a slight chance that she wouldn't be picked, she probably bribed the person who made the decision, or the people.
All right, love it. Does she feel out of place because of that? Does she, you know, is there sort of this sense of maybe she shouldn't have been here? Maybe she shouldn't have come?
No, it was a mistake. I mean, if she hadn't been picked, it was obviously a mistake, because she's very well qualified.
All right. So she got an ego, is what you're telling me. Okay. Love it. That was great. Thank you, Horst. Mike, you're up next. Tell us about Alexei and yourself.
So I see Alexei as how to put this. He's kind of some of my concept seems to have meshed seems to have been similar to what Horst was saying. So I don't want to go I don't want to go too close. But I was seeing that Alexei was again, he was a tech entrepreneur, and I know we don't want to have, like, you know, HAL 9000 level AI, but I'm going to say that he was he started a company that did like big data analytics, and came up with like a new way to do AI data analysis, big data analysis, and basically he built a company to rival Google in terms of how it could do. And of course, Google thought this was a big threat, and so they bought him out. So all of his tech is now owned by Google. But he got really rich in that. And so he's used that as seed money, because he's also, like myself, the player, Alexei has always been also a techno-utopianist. Unlike me, he's also a capitalist libertarian, and believes that the best way to get the most freedom is to have the least amount of government possible, so that people who know what they're doing can do what they need to do without anyone else telling them what to do. So when the opportunity to use his vast fortune to start to set up a colony on Mars, he was very, he was all for this, and is able to finally basically buy his way into his childhood dreams of being an astronaut. He is very persuasive. That's probably one of his biggest gifts. He can, when he like, his TED Talks are one of the most his TED Talks were one of the most popular. People just love him. He's, he can just light up a room. He's also a truly brilliant programmer, and really knows how to code. And he wants to literally go to Mars because he's always wanted to go to space, and he's always wanted to go there. And who better than himself to, bring into existence, a true new world, and and for the next echelon of humanity.
That's awesome. That's great. So are they using his brand of AI in the Martian equipment and the equipment they're bringing to Mars? Do you think?
I like to think so. Because I like to think that his big thing is autonomous vehicles. I like that. It's autonomous. His AI is for autonomous vehicles, and so the initial unmanned survey, commercial survey that was done of the area, were basically commercial Mars rovers that were running with Alexei's company's technology.
That's great.
So that they could do their stuff, because it's a 5 to 20 minute to get to Earth, 5 to 20 minute signal back. If you needed Earth to tell you which way your rover to go, you're going to be upside down, and it's going to be upside down in a ravine somewhere.
Right. I mean, also I imagine they're bringing a lot of robots with them to kind of help with the mining and things like that. So that's great. Mike, that was fantastic. Thank you. Tori, you're up. Tell us about your character.
So my character was going to be the same as the first two, so I had to recreate it on the fly.
All right.
Yeah, so my character's name is Soline.
Great.
Thibodeau from France. She is a botanist with a focus in technology. So trying to make Mars be able to grow plants that can support, crops specifically. So she has her own lab, and she's very good at seeing the big picture. So not just, this is my plant that I'm working on in the lab, but how can this plant be applied to feed the masses and help the populace. So she's very much this type of person that thinks about the common man and wants to do what's best for the world and what's best for the people who are going to be coming and colonizing Mars in the future, and make a sustainable living for everyone.
Thank you for making a likable character. Is she like an academic? Was she sort of, before she got picked for the Mars program, was she kind of a PhD, or did she have more applied? Was she doing more applied botany? What do you think?
An academic and humanitarian.
Okay.
So she was responsible for making sustainable crops that could be farmed and raised in different countries, regardless of the types of conditions around the globe. So think of Monsanto, but better.
Not evil.
Yes.
Right.
So the good version of Monsanto.
That was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who did she leave behind? Let's say she got picked for the Mars program. Was there anyone that she had to leave behind on Earth? Does she have any?
Fortunately, not really. She didn't have much family. She
No
dedicated her
attachments.
life to the humanitarian efforts. She had, her elder parents,
Right.
maybe some siblings, but no partner, no children.
Did she have maybe an active social life? Like, was she connected, or was she like all about the plants?
Not all about the plant specifically, but helping the people. She traveled a lot around the world and very much wanted to connect with everyone that she met, but it wasn't very conducive to keeping an active social life because she was always on the move. So she yearns for connection, but it's hard to maintain connection when she's in a different country every week.
Got it. Great. That's good stuff. Cool. That was great. Thank you. Darren?
Yeah, I had my character set as an agronomist, but that's probably a little overlappy. So I'm gonna.
What is an agronomist?
Oh, it's kind of a specialist in like the science of soil and crop production.
That seems okay. I like it.
Oh, but Solon is a botanist.
I think it's fine.
My other idea was playing an ethologist. So somebody who studies, the behavior of animals, and also somebody who is an ethologist, biologist, zoologist, who is very keen on what animals should we have with us on Mars, and sees animals as like sort of like an essential part of modern humanity. And yeah. So I think I'm going to pivot to that. So
that's great.
He was chosen for this mission by the European Union, or whatever's left of it, and he was kind of known for like studying animal behavior and trying to come up with adaptive solutions to climate change for animals. Like, how can we, help them, or rehome them or something like that if their habitat and whatnot has been compromised. So that was sort of his like pre-Mars thing.
Awesome.
And politically, he's just kind of like, at least right now, I think it's a little early for capitalism. Like, we have to at least like get things figured out, and focus on not monetizing things, but like making stuff work, even if it is expensive, etc. So that's kind of his stance. He's a transformationist, or terraformist, in that we at least need to have a home here. Like, we don't have to build Disneyland or something, but we just need we need a chunk of Mars that is as habitable as possible for us.
So that's great. I love it. Did Hubert bring animals with him to Mars, or is he just sort of getting a sense of the lay of the land so that a later mission can bring animals?
I think he maybe this is getting like too science fiction-y, but I was thinking that maybe he has some he has some animals that are like in kind of in like deep freeze sort of, that he could bring out if he wanted to, just for different experiments and whatnot. But yeah, he kind of feels like he needs to do a lot more research first, and actually, be on the planet for a while and see how the humans behave, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. That was great. I'm going to ask maybe a couple questions before we take our break, if that's okay with you all.
Sure.
And I'll just go in reverse order. What did Hubert bring with him that maybe he was not allowed to or should not have brought with him? Was there an item or something that was maybe expressly forbidden or implicitly forbidden that he brought with him anyway?
I think the big controversy, and this is his asset, is he has a very small pool of ground vehicles that are not AI controlled. Just because he was sort of terrified of that whole concept, and this is probably old, but he's like, brings up like videos of Tesla vehicles crashing into people.
To anyone who will watch, he'll be like,
yeah. And, he'll come up with sort of reasons why he needs this vehicle. Like,
right.
This is my hydroponics lab, and I really need to fiddle with the settings myself, and I can't have an AI doing it. And not going to say Alexei terrifies me, but he does.
Right.
Yeah.
That was great. So he brought with him a ground vehicle or two that might not have been, he sort of was able to talk his way into getting these additional ground vehicles brought along, even though they were not sanctioned by the mission. Did I get that right?
Yeah, I think it was sort of couched as like, we will accommodate this talented eccentric,
Love it. Tori, I was going to come to you next. What item did Celine bring with her that was not allowed?
So part of the research on Mars is that all seeds have to be freshly planted once they got to Mars to, test the environment and make sure that, the laboratory settings are actually from, fresh and it can be recreated. So one of the restrictions to bringing any plant matter was that you can only bring seeds. But Celine was working on a particular crop strain and she didn't want to abandon her research. So she brought, a potted strain of this crop with her, even though it's already blossomed into whatever the crop was going to be.
That's so good. I can do so much with that. Mike, I think same question. What illicit item did Alexei bring with him?
I'm so tempted to say the first thing that came to my mind. He brought his dog.
Oh no, poor bub.
The dog will not die. Not on my watch. What kind of dog did he bring? What kind of dog is it?
I'm actually that was my first thing, and I'm actually having second thoughts of that.
All right, go ahead.
I'm actually having second thoughts of that.
That's fine. You X-carded yourself.
I X-carded myself
Very
there.
proud
Yeah.
of you. I should have done that last week.
Oh man, Darren just gave me a really good idea. I'm going to go with that.
Going to bring a gun?
He's bringing a gun.
I mean, I think, yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't supposed to bring it, but Alexei brought a gun. Alexei has a gun. It's a He brought a gun and 1 box of ammo.
What was the rationale in his mind, however reasonable or not? What was the rationale for bringing a gun?
I think aliens, yeah. Feral.
I think I'm changing my mind about the aliens thing now.
I think it's just along the lines of, he just kind of doesn't feel safe without it.
That is so Alexa.
Yeah, he's got
why shouldn't he?
Yeah, I know.
One of the first people on Mars. It's important.
Yeah, he's got a gun. It's a 9mm. He's got a 9mm hand. It's a 9mm handgun and 1 box of ammo.
I mean, if he's the only one with a gun,
I think he's the only one with a gun because no one else is supposed to have it. I think I basically smuggled it.
Right. It's an illicit. They were told explicitly, no firearms, no explosives. But here we are. Horst, what does Isabel bring with her?
First of all, I want to mention that you are probably all aware of the concept of Chekhov's gun. So this is a gun that will be shot at one point, probably pointed at a person.
Why would I, the player, introduce something that I didn't want to use?
Cause trouble. Well, Isabel is into like transhumanism and stuff. Not only is the state not allowed to tell me anything, it's the potential is endless. She brought a large amount of LSD, which she's experimenting with microdosing and other doses as well. But the microdosing is, in order to be even smarter than she already is.
Right.
And the other stuff is to just open her mind to other possibilities.
I like microdosing and other dosing. That was great. I'm having too much fun asking you questions. So I'm going to do one more round and then we'll take our break. I promise. I'll start with Horst this time. How many other folks were sent to Mars, right? It can't be just you 4, right? This is a big mission. So is it 20? Is it 50? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? How many total crew are on this mission to Mars?
I mean, I have to go with the first 100, right?
Yeah. That is a reference to the Kim Stanley Robinson books that we were talking about before. If you haven't read anything by Kim Stanley Robinson, he's an excellent writer. So we can assume that there's sort of a full complement of folks providing security, providing engineering, kind of there to kind of help build things, all of that, other engineers and scientists to do all the research necessary. Maybe there's actually, Mike, let me come to you. Maybe there's a crew psychologist, as there was in the Red Mars trilogy. I'm going to ask you a hard one. What is their name? Or maybe what might be easier to start with, what do they specialize in?
So this is the colony's psychologist.
Right.
What do they specialize in? They specialize in conflict resolution.
Perfect.
Because we got 100 people on a hostile alien planet. Earth is a
whole nother planet. Yeah.
Earth is 12 million miles away at its closest. It's going to take, if we could go back to Earth, a trip back to Earth is going to, a trip back to Earth is going to take like months.
Right.
We don't have anyone else coming anytime soon, so we've got to focus on solving our own problems safely and sanely.
Maybe demographic sketch. Are they what are their pronouns? What is their gender? Are they older? Are they younger? What do you think?
Older, he, him pronouns. Let's say older, he, him pronouns. American of East Asian ancestry.
Love it. Darren and I have the opportunity to play a lot with Matthew Arcilla from the Gauntlet community, and Matthew is fantastic at identifying actors or celebrities who play NPCs in our games. And if Matthew were here, he would have immediately given us someone to play this role. In our games, Idris Elba always makes an appearance. So I don't know who Idris Elba is going to be, but just giving you all a heads up, we will probably drop in an Idris Elba played character. Tori, you had asked before about contact with Earth, and I'm curious if you have an opinion about that. Are they in regular contact? Are they in irregular contact? What role does Earth play here? Did they kind of send us off and say, just go figure it out and let us know when you're done? Or are they sort of constantly checking in? What do you think?
Well, considering this is a 100% mission, this is probably a collaborative effort. And there's probably, there's constant contact with Earth from the different governments of the different countries that have sent people up here.
So everyone's kind of reporting into their countries fairly regularly. Okay.
But there's also, I think, we'll also get like a downloaded or like an uplink every like 24 hours when we get in close enough range where we can get like open access to the internet and get like a cached version of stuff that we request.
Got it.
I was thinking of that too. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
PD Wong.
Oh, there you go. Well done. Darren, who is the central body that kind of organized this? I mean, my assumption is the UN, but I wonder if you have like another idea of, did they pull together another body? Was it actually a commercial endeavor? What is sort of the, who is behind the impetus for going to Mars?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think maybe this is a operation that was sort of like put together to subvert the private colonization of Mars.
Nice.
So this was like a kind of hastily put together multinational, multi-continent organization to kind of like keep Mars, how do I say this, not let Mars be like a corporate state,
right?
And there's a lot of squabbling because there are countries with very different
right.
ideologies and economic systems in it. So
yeah, that's perfect. Actually, if you play the board game Terraforming Mars, it's sort of the opposite, right? You choose a corporation that kind of sponsors you to go off to Mars. Yep. So, all right, friends, that was great. Thank you for that setup. I know that took a little while, but I think we got a lot to work with. And now I'm regretting that it's only a one shot. I've got 13 past the hour. Usually I take a 10-minute break at first, so let's do that. So we will reconvene at 24 past the hour. Sound good? Cool. See you then. And we're back. I've got an idea for an initial contest, and I think it is fairly low stakes. So just to kind of get us going and to test out the die rolling stuff. So my thought is that the colony is sort of, let's say we're a few weeks in, like, the basics are in place. You've got dormitory, you've got med bay, your labs are largely set up, and we are now kind of exploring the area around the colony to secure some resources and things like that. In my imagination, there's maybe about a kilometer away, there is an aquifer with some precious water below the surface, and you four have been sent out to go develop a pump to go grab the water out of the aquifer. Does that not a lot of stakes, but maybe a good starting point? Does that sound okay to everyone?
Mhm.
You've got a I guess Isabel, as the main engineer among you, are you bringing a crew? Are there any red shirts among you, or is it just the four of you?
I personally find it interesting if it's just the four of us.
Okay, great. And Alexi, which of your cool vehicles did you select to head out there?
I think we're going to be using our sort of like it's the general purpose exploration vehicle, which seats four. It's I'm imagining like it's like the size. It's like the size of a full size van, and roughly that shaped, but it's got 6 wheels. It's up pretty high, and each of the 6 wheels are like has a certain amount of articulation. The wheels are pretty big. They're all each independently powered by their own electric motor.
Okay. I also feel like maybe you've got a robot that's following along, and by robot I mean kind of vehicle-sized thing that's following along, but it's got kind of the drilling equipment and things like that.
It's just what I was going to say, and it's followed by a separate vehicle that's got it's got the drilling equipment. It's also got the like wound up hose that we'll use to like be able to bring the water back to the colony.
Fantastic. Celine, I feel like you're the best qualified to kind of evaluate the water and kind of test it out. Are there other tests or things that you're going to do? Any other equipment that you're bringing to do the botanist thing while you're there?
I probably have some type of like computer that you can set up on a lap that you can analyze samples on. So it's like a field test kit.
Love it.
So if you put like the water sample on, it will tell you like pH balance, what minerals are in the water, any harmful elements, if the water has any radiation in it.
That's great.
It would take a little bit of time though. It's not just like boop, instant results. Right. It'll take a bit.
You've got to leave it running. We've got to wait for a bar to fill up on the screen for us to get the results.
It's not a tricorder.
Right. I was going to ask you. Oh yes. Are you the person, Celine, in charge of running the farm back at the colony? Are you a consultant to the farm? Do you work at the farm? Like where do you sit in the hierarchy of people in charge of the plant life within the colony?
Oh yeah, I absolutely run the farm. Like I'm making sure that everyone's doing what they should be, and the crops are being harvested on time and planted on time, making sure that they get distributed to the right resource centers, so that all 100 people are getting fed at the right times, and keeping track that of the resource levels at each of the different distribution centers, to make sure that everyone's eating the amount that they're supposed to, and no resource center is like over allocating their resources too quickly.
Yes, wow. And I think since you're going off on this little mission, you've left someone behind to kind of keep an eye on the farm, and we're going to call that person Wesley Jennings. Is that all right? He's like
Wesley.
He's like an assistant He's like your assistant botanist.
How long is this mission supposed to last?
I mean, I think you might be there all day, right? So but you know, if something goes wrong or something like that, I don't know. But does that sound all right? Wesley Jennings. All right. I wrote down Wesley botanist. That is not correct.
It should be Wesley.
The name Wesley Jennings. I already have visions of him like being blown out an airlock. But anyway,
he won't be lasting to the end of the novel. Cool. And Hubert, what sort of experiments do you expect to be able to do at the site of the aquifer pump?
I think this is like why he would be there, is to evaluate Mars water for I don't know if aquaculture is the right word. So can we find enough water and for aquaculture, and how viable would it be? Like farming fish or something like that to feed people.
I mean, are you bringing any fauna with you? I'm thinking of like microscopic organisms or algae. I think would be more Soline's department, but anything that
I think anything like that would be left behind, just to not alarm anyone with quote contamination.
Okay.
But yeah, he's also interested in a bunch of tests being run on the water, and
right.
Doesn't really know a whole lot on the engineering side of things, but yeah.
So I think you all get to the site of that you imagined this aquifer, and I'm wondering if you can sort of talk me through, maybe not the technical details of sort of, but what are each of you doing to kind of get the pump or the drill ready? What is this process look like? Horst, I imagine that Isabel is sort of, as the engineer, kind of driving this process. What does this look like from her perspective?
I would imagine that Isabel is standing on an elevated position and is wildly gesturing and commanding everyone over the comms.
Okay.
You lower the stuff there. Be careful. Look out for trying to micromanage the operation.
So she's not doing any of the pump installation herself. She's just yelling at everyone else.
Because she knows where the stuff has to be.
Right. Are you noticing any sort of challenges in the topography of this part of Mars? Like you were expecting it to maybe be a little bit more flat, or maybe there's a ravine that is unexpected there, or anything like that? Or is this, as far as you can tell, like this is where you need to drill?
Could it be, what do the others think, that the aquifer has to be accessed from one of the lava tunnels, so that we are actually, already like inside or underground, I guess?
Okay. So you've sort of ventured into a cave, a former lava tunnel, as the best possible access to the
And
atmosphere.
and the problem here.
I like that in that that would require people to actually be there rather than just sending out robots that were remotely piloted. If it's in a lava tube, radio signals are not going to be penetrating that, so we've got to be on scene. I like that.
And maybe because you were asking for like problems in the topography.
Yes.
So maybe, well, the lighting is probably it's much darker than we expected, maybe. And then also the tunnel is probably, I'm not an expert, but probably the ground is not completely flat, but has a curve.
Right. Yeah, and especially inside the lava tube. That's fantastic. Good news is none of us are experts on Mars, so we can just make it up. Alexi, how do you navigate the robot down below? Is that, I mean, and just to be clear, I feel like we are now all out of the main vehicle and in EVO suits, right? We're sort of in suits to allow us to walk around the surface of Mars.
Right. So I'm thinking that so initially I was thinking before we settled on lava tube, I was figuring that Alexi would be, in the main vehicle and would be remotely piloting this, but yeah, that's not going to work. I think I like that we've brought the main vehicle basically to the entrance of this lava tube, and then we've entered it with the much smaller drilling platform that I'm driving manual. I've got like a joystick, and I'm carrying like a joystick remote.
Controller.
I got exactly. I got like a drone controller in my hand, and I'm piloting it along, walking along next to it. And yeah, we're in pressure suits. I think we're just walking along next to it. I think I imagine that the vehicle has, like a pair of bright floodlights, and that's what's mostly illuminating our path. I figure our suits probably have a light in front so that we can see. So that once this thing starts drilling, because I imagine once it starts drilling, it's going to take a while. So we're probably not going to just stand there and wait for it to do its thing.
Right. Great. Celine, how are you getting ready for this process to happen?
So once I know that the drill bot is on its way and is there seem to be no issues with it getting into the tube, I'm going to be looking around on the walls, taking some samples from the walls, seeing if taking them for later, because the test kit that I brought is specifically for water. I don't have any soil sample kits, but I'd like to analyze the stuff that is in the cave when we go back. But also maybe looking around to double check on the structural integrity. I mean, I'm not an engineer, but just seeing if anything looks unstable from just a non-expert's point of view.
Yeah.
In this cave, like if we're gonna start drilling, these walls better be stable.
Is the cave freaking you out at all, or is Celine sort of like, yeah, I mean, I've been in all manner of places on Earth. This is nothing.
We're not too far in the cave, so it's not that freaky yet. she can still see the entrance to the tube. But if we were to drop below, I don't know, sea level or the surface level,
sea level, right.
it might get a little freaky, because this is definitely not Earth, and she's used to being out in the sunlight.
Awesome. And Hubert, no one said anything about caves when you left on this mission. How are you feeling about climbing into a lava tube?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I mean, it's probably not the weirdest place he's been. You know, in terms of his previous studies. I think, you know, Hubert is not really in his element during the, like, you know, the engineering, drilling phase. So he ends up just sort of inadvertently observing the behavior of all the people and analyzing it. Trying to stay out of the way, too. He's not very mechanically inclined.
But Isabel is issuing orders. So I assume that at the very least, Hubert and Solene and Alexi are playing a role in getting the pump set up based on Isabel's direction. Is that fair to say?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
I would also assume that you would probably can easily interpret Isabel's actions as, you know, asserting a certain time or type of dominance, at least based on merit, or maybe or full of, you know, based on her being very self-confident. If he wanted to analyze her.
Does Hubert analysis, it doesn't sound like it's psychological, though. It sounds like it's purely behavioral, that your expertise, Hubert's expertise anyway, is based on maybe observing other primates. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, when you see, I don't want to be offensive, but, you know, when he sees Isabel, he probably thinks of, like, you know, like primates, like baboons who literally have, like, do the king of the hill thing. And, you know, just observing the behavior of her underlings and stuff.
The social dynamic, yeah.
Yeah, just the behavior, you know, like, yeah, like, oh, okay, so we seem to have some people who are feigning, you know, feigning friendliness and, okay, thanks, when they're being yelled at, and then people who are, you know, taking, like, subservient postures and sort of scuttling off to do what they're supposed to.
Great. So I think we are now at the moment where we're trying to get the pump set up, and we will call this our contest, right? You're all sort of working together more or less, or observing together to kind of complete this mission. So we will now do our first roll. The way this works is I roll a couple of dice to identify the difficulty level, and then we will put together dice pools. The dice that I roll will determine what that difficulty number is, and I will tell you what that number is, and then you will assemble dice pools to try and beat that number. So I'm in the roller, which I will post again, and the way this works, the way I've designed this anyway, is I will roll a handful of dice that sort of represent kind of the challenge of what you're dealing with. And then I take the highest number. So I'm going to roll those dice. I'm going to take the highest number, which is a 6, and I'm going to add 4 to that, since the colony is at this point in good shape, and the number you are trying to beat is 10. So now we walk through creating a dice pool. We'll do that in character keeper order. Now, the way we've decided to do this is we will walk through creating a dice pool. You'll click on the dice, but you will not roll. And once everybody is done building their dice pool, then we'll go back around and click roll. And we do that because at the table, we would all do this at the same time. So we want to give you a chance to adjust your dice pool if you want to do it. So now we get crunchy. So Horst, I'm going to start with you. Isabel gets a D6 for her name die. How is her politics playing a role in her actions here?
I mean, a capitalist or libertarian system is assuming that the people who are most qualified, should do the work, and that will benefit all. If I'm not saying that this is a realistic view, I'm just saying that
That's her view. Yeah.
That is her view.
Yeah, that's fine. Does this align with her conservation?
Not really. I mean, she accepts that there has to be resources extracted from the planet.
Right. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So we'll add another D6 to your pool for your politics. I forgot to declare which domain it is. I'm going to call it technology and engineering domain. So that gives you a third D6. So now you have some choices you can make. Remember, you're trying to beat a 10 on 2 of these dice. So you can mark fatigue to add another domain die to your pool, and you can pick any domain die with some fictional rationale. So if you want to mark fatigue, you can then add the D8 to your pool, and I'd be curious to hear how politics and schemes in Isabel's mind plays into this. So do you want to mark fatigue?
I'd love to.
Seeing as how we're probably only going to get to 3 rolls, it's not a problem. Yeah. So now you get to add a D8. You can also mark one of these benefits, talent, training, or assets, to add a D4. What's interesting about D4s is you will always add the result of the D4. So you'll roll the 2 highest dice plus whatever the D4 rolls if you choose to add that to your.
I would like to add my talent of engineering.
That makes sense.
And I mark this on the character sheet.
Yep.
Like this.
There you go.
Okay. Cool.
And I think we're done. So that's 3d6, a d8, and a d4. Are those the dice that you've got?
Yep, that sounds good.
That's great. We will come to Mike. You've got a d6 for your name die, Alexi. And talk to me about how your politics fit in here.
I think this is this is transformation. We are terraforming Mars, and the first step of terraforming Mars is we need to tap into the Martian water reserves so that we can actually use the water reserves that are of this planet. Because hey,
right,
we're the only people here.
We're there. Yeah,
we're there. We're there, and this water is here. And if this colony is going to be expansive and if people are going to live here permanently, we're going to have to use the water resources that are here. So we're totally transformed. So I'm gonna take a D6 for politics of transformation.
You get a D6 for technology and engineering, and then you can choose to mark fatigue to take your D8.
I am going to mark fatigue. I'm going to take my D8 of perception and connection. And I'm going to say, in terms of perception, he's I think in terms of perception, he's doing a good job of figuring out where to line up the drill, and it's just using his acute observational skills.
Love it.
In this case of the physical world rather than of other people.
And then you can mark one of those benefits to add a D4 to your pool.
I am going to mark. I'm going to mark technology to add a D4.
Shockingly, you have 3d6, a d8, and a d4. Sound good? All right. So hold off on rolling, and we will come to Solene. Solene, you get a d6 for your name. And talk to me about how your politics play in here.
Well, we need water for everyone.
Everybody needs water.
Everyone
Yeah.
needs water.
You know what also needs water? Plants. Plants need water. Great. And it's a technology and engineering, so you automatically get a D8 for that. You can choose to mark mark a fatigue to add another D6 to your roll, if you like.
Sure, why not?
And then you can mark a benefit to add a D4.
I'll do observation.
Look. Guess what? You also have 3d6, a d8, and a d4. Darren, how many times have we done this, Darren? Too many to count.
A lot. So let's see, name die. Then I'm thinking this is terraforming, and as far as like, communism goes, this is for all mankind. And let's see, how would I tie in my D8? Maybe just some, observations on the environment we're in, and I don't know. I'm trying to think of hard science here. Yeah, maybe a little bit of knowledge of geology, etc.
I also feel like hard science, the studying animal behavior is science, right? So I feel like, you're sort of pulling that in as you're observing the what's going on. So.
Let's see, D4. I suppose I could, take I don't know.
What do you feel like? You could also mark one of the favors, but you can only do that once per mission. So
I think I'm actually gonna lay off of that. So let's see, 3d6 and a d8.
Okay, so now we roll, and we'll just go down the row. So, Horst, do you want to hit roll?
Give me a second. Roll with me. Roll.
So we add up the two highest to those. So that's an 8 and a 2, and then you add the D4. That's another 2. So you rolled a 12 in total.
Awesome.
Yeah, you beat the difficulty, that's for sure. Mike, you want to hit roll? A lot of dice. So I'm seeing an 11 plus 1 is another 12. Tori, you're up. Solene rolls a 14. I'm seeing a 6 and a 4, and then another 4. And Hubert. 8. So the way this works now is we sort of narrate what we do. We'll narrate what happens. And the person who rolled lowest goes first. And we go in ascending order, if I remember correctly. So, Darren, that would make you go first. what happened? How did you suffer in this endeavor?
I think maybe his people skills are sometimes not what he thinks they are, and he just kind of came off as a I don't know what's a good word for it, schlemiel, just kind of
I do know.
just kind of and the people like Isabel ended up kind of going, yeah, the adults are talking, go.
Do you think he was like spending too much time observing? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, and not, and his more scientific observations on the the actual drilling operation, he was not communicating well and was too distracted, etc.
Yeah. That was great. Thanks. And it looks like the two other, so Alexi, you're next. You succeeded. You were not the best, but you succeeded. So talk to us about what this looked like from your perspective. How did you successfully activate the pump?
So we set up basically the drill bot. We got that all set up, and one of the things that the drill bot has is this like long articulated arm, and the only thing on that is the camera. So it basically takes a lot of selfies. So it's so this one arm like swung back and like looked down to like get an overall picture. We had another view from the drill itself that was going down into this. I'm imagining a fairly big auger is drilling down into the rock, and yeah, we kind of set this up, and I think we all left just in case, so we're not all like in by the drill while it's actually doing the drill. So I think we're all kind of like back at the main vehicle. We got our helmets off and whatnot, although we're probably still in our EVA suits. And Alexi is like typing frantically on the computer. He's got like 3 screens. He's looking at one camera feed from one, camera feed from the other, and like another screen that's all like data telemetry. Typing frantically, seeing several bars go across, seeing the video feed, and yeah, this drill is going down, and it's going down, and it's going down, and it's going down, and then we get the alert: water detected.
Nice. So because you rolled a success, though not the best, you get half the points of the difficulty. So you get 5 points of renown. And that brings us to, yep.
So put 5 under renown.
That's correct. Horst, Isabel's next. What does she do when water is detected?
So I think that she sits behind Alexi, and she's constantly, asking for feedback. Talk me through this, Alexi, and look over there, pointing at the other screen. I don't like that, the meter, the reading, and then I just reach over his shoulder and press like increase drill speed or whatever. So a mixture between barking commands and going hands-on.
Love it. And I think you've set up the engineering just right. So the drill works and the pump is properly installed. You also get 5 renown.
Nice.
We're creating some tension between Isabel and Alexi. Celine, you rolled best. So from a bookkeeping perspective, that means you get all 10 points from the difficulty. So you get 10 renown. I feel like maybe you made a discovery while you were down there. What did you discover? What was interesting about the walls of the cave?
Oh, this is bad because I just watched The Descent. I have to get that out of my head because we're not doing aliens. Um,
No aliens, but maybe there's the remnants of life. Maybe there's maybe one of the other colonists has been here.
I think I get it. I find a fossil of plant life.
Nice. It's like tiny. Compare, like it takes your expertise to see it, right?
Well, anyone else looking at it, it just looks like swirls on a rock.
Right.
But you have to be a botanist or biologist to look at it and be like, no, that's not just swirls on a rock. That is biological plant matter embedded in the rock that is decomposed over time. This is incredible.
Did you take the rock? I mean, you rolled best, so you could.
Of course I take the rock. We take it back. We have to study it.
Did you share this knowledge with the others, or are you keeping it to yourself? Let me be specific. Did you share the knowledge with these capitalist pigs, or did you keep it to yourself?
I will not.
It's kind of a big discovery. Yeah.
I probably need to check in with whichever government I have allegiance to.
You wouldn't want anyone else to publish first. Are you, you said Celine is French, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe France or the EU. Maybe.
Does it still exist by then?
I think you all are feeling really good about this first mission that you went on. Not first, but our first mission. The pump is set up. It's ready. It's not necessarily plugged into the colony just yet, but it's got all the basics are in place. You're coming back feeling pretty satisfied with yourselves, or you've reported back at least that the pump is ready to go, and everyone's pretty excited about having this new source of water. It's actually fairly robust. You're bringing some samples back, and I think as you are heading back, you get a frantic call from Wesley, and he says, Celine, it's out of control. The crops, they're out of control.
I mean, they're out of control. We left 8 hours ago. They're crops.
Whatever one you brought with you, it's overtaken the hydroponics farm.
They can't be possible. Plants don't grow that fast, Leslie.
I know I'm also a PhD botanist, but I'm telling you, this place is overrun and it is starting to damage the infrastructure. In fact, I gotta go. And he hangs up. And we are going to take our second break. I've got 3 past the hour. Usually I do 5 minutes on the second break just for a bio break. Is that okay? All right. So I'll see you at 8 past the hour. You arrive back at the colony. It is in chaos. You see plant life emerging. None of you recognize the plant itself, except obviously Celine. And I think, Celine, this is the illicit plant that you brought with you, that you had been working on genetic engineering, trying to get it to work in a lot of different places. Well, turns out it was ideally suited to Mars. It's kudzu. It's Martian kudzu. That, you know what, friends, that was worth this whole 3-hour endeavor, getting to Martian kudzu. So I feel like people are in chaos. The plant is getting strong enough where it's actually kind of like breaking through. So it's tunneling through The earth, you've built your colony largely underground, but there is a dome, and you can see it's moving faster than anyone's ever seen a plant grow. It's extending up into to potentially crack the dome as well. So not a political contest, but I felt like this was kind of interesting to see what happened with this plant. So, Celine, since you rolled best last time, why don't we start with you? How are you dealing with this situation? Shall I provide?
She's just devastated. This is her life's work. And who would have ever thought that, just bringing a plant up to space would have dire consequences? I mean, it's a plant. Nothing bad ever happens with plants. There's never any horror stories about plants.
No, like poison ivy, it's probably the person's fault that they walked through it. Nothing bad ever happens. How are you going to get this situation under control? What do you do? Are you headed towards the farm? Are you headed towards your room to see if there's any evidence? Are you trying to track down Wesley? Are you trying to track down other farmers? What do you think?
She'll go directly to the hydroponics, to where the plant action is.
Okay.
Just to try to see if she can fix what she can. She's not interested in covering her tracks. Like it's a plant. Like everyone's gonna know it's probably her.
Okay.
And she's never been the type to lie or scheme or anything. So she's just gonna try to do what she can to help with her expertise. But out of control plants are not really something she knows about to this degree of out of control. I mean, invasive species, sure, but out of control crops that are growing faster than should be possible are not something she's encountered before.
Is her intent
very panicky?
Is her intent to try and kill the plant? Is it to try and figure out why it's growing so fast? Is her intent to try and lock down the farm? What does she want to try and how does she want to deal with the situation?
Try to contain the plant. I mean, if it's growing, I mean, if it's not doing any harm and the only thing is that it's growing a lot, that could be a good sign, and it could be a sign for what possibly could live on Mars, and this could be a breakthrough and a good sign for everyone. Like we could breed this plant with other crop species, and this could be a huge thing for how to colonize Mars in the future.
I like that her mind is already working. Like, how can I use this to my advantage? That's great.
Not my advantage. The world, humanity's advantage.
Yes, of course. Yes.
So it's just like restricting it to the hydroponics lab and preventing the spread to the other parts of the colony.
Okay. I mean, I think it is starting to break through, but I like what you're saying is like, okay, well, let's try and prevent it from breaking through more than it already has. Great. Darren, you're next in the character keeper. How is Hubert reacting to this situation?
I think he would see Dr. Thibodeau as a political ally. So he's probably trying to think about damage control and is this sabotage? So I can't imagine, in his mind, he would think like, well, she would bring something this volatile herself, which could be completely wrong. But, is this sabotage? Maybe he's thinking about, do we just kind of terminate with extreme prejudice at this point because it's out of control? It's going to be like used against her, possibly, other scientists like me. Yes, and also he wants to come up with a solution before Alexei just, starts shooting.
Opens fire. I like the idea. Can we emphasize that your first instinct is that there's some sabotage here, and that maybe based on what you know about how these things work, there's no way this thing could be growing kind of on its own. And so maybe while Solene is doing damage control, you're also maybe investigating what really happened here. Does that seem fair?
I think so. Yeah. That sounds like.
Yeah. Cool. Horst Isbell's next. How is Isbell taking advantage of the chaos here? Is she doing anything to kind of help? Is she seeing this as an opportunity to advance an agenda? Is she using this as cover to do something on her own? What do you think?
I think the way that she would take advantage of the situation is by being the hero who saves the day. So she will go to her engineering friends. There must be some kind of fail-safe option to maybe put some kind of tarpaulin, is that a word? Like some kind of foil over the leakage that would occur. So she's riling up the engineers with the stuff to climb on the dome to cover it up. But her goal is, obviously she wants to save human life. But if she gets like an important political brownie points for that would be even better.
Right. I wonder if she's like focusing her effort on an aspect of the colony where one of the important people stay. Or that kind of thing.
She makes sure that she's seen while saving the colony.
That's good. All right, Alexei, what are you doing in this chaos? Are you taking advantage of it? Are you sort of leaning into the hero thing like Isbell is? Are you using it for cover to advance any of your own agendas? What do you think?
I think I'm going into hero mode because, I mean, if we're going to keep playing this in this TV series, Alexei, I think Alexei and Isbell are clearly the villains who are vying for power, but neither of them, at least Alexei, doesn't realize that he's the villain. He thinks he's the hero, and he's going to try to play the hero here, and he's going to make sure everybody knows that he's going to try to play the hero here because he sees all this chaos. He goes straight to his office, fires up his computer, turns on the webcam, and starts narrating what he's doing, with the screen to document the whole thing. He's going into the because he wrote the OS for this. He wrote the OS, or his company at least wrote the OS for this system, right. And it's his AI drones that do all the automated maintenance.
Nice.
So he's typing, he's typing frantically at his computer terminal, and again he's got the screens come up. He's got like one of the screens is like a gallery view of maybe 12 different cameras on different small maintenance drones that he's now sending into the ventilation system. He's sending a little quadcopter up to try to basically to try to cut away the plants away from all of to cut away and to just physically remove the plants from the vital systems. And he's documenting it all. It's right. It's all there. He is legitimately trying to save the colony, but at the same time, he wants to make sure that everybody knows that he's the one who saved the day.
Right. He's got a drone that's following him around, obviously recording everything, And he's also got the schedule of when do we upload stuff to be sent to Earth in his mind. So he knows exactly when he's got to wrap up this so he can get it packaged up to send to Earth. I love that.
More or less. And that's important, but legitimately, he is most concerned on making sure that this plant isn't going to jeopardize the colony itself, because fame, fortune is all very important, but at the same time, if this thing breaks containment and we get an atmosphere leak, we're all dead, including himself.
Right. Yeah. There's no point in achieving fame if you can't be around to enjoy it. So I'm going to roll difficulty, and then we will do some dice rolls. So I rolled a 9 plus 4 is, now you're trying to beat a 13. As a reminder, only one of you beat a 13 on the last roll. So so that's where we're at. I will go in that same order. So Tori, we will put your I should say, I think I did a bad job of thinking about what domain this is. But I think everyone is very concerned about their position and what this will impact on them and what this impact has on the success of the colony. So unless anyone strenuously objects, I'm going to call this a politics and schemes, because even though you're trying to deal with the physical issues of the plant, a lot of this has to do with your perception in the colony and the perception of the colony itself. So that being said, Tori, why don't you walk us through creating a dice pool for Solene? Would that be okay?
Here we go. Oh, I need to clear out my other one. Well, it's probably going to be the same, isn't it?
It's going to be largely the same. You can mark a fatigue and mark a benefit, and then you'll end up with 3d6, a d8, and a d4.
Yeah, so d6 for the name. I mean, if this doesn't get solved, we're all going to die. So I think this is very much communist.
Yes. We live or die together. Yes.
Politics and schemes is d6. Pulling on my engineering for the fatigue to get that d8, because that's how I'm going to be isolating the plant, is just shutting down the surrounding pods and doors and stuff around the hydroponics lab. And obviously botany is going to be my benefit for this one.
That's great. Love it. Darren, you're next. I'm trying to beat a 13.
Okay. Hang on one second. I think I got booted again. Yep. Okay. Hang on. Sorry. I don't know why, but this program likes to kick me out.
No worries.
So, yeah, I'm thinking, essentially like communism might come in here, because he's kind of really concerned about the whole state of the project. And this would be a perfect opportunity for people to kind of like malign the scientific part of this. And, look what this intellectual curiosity did to us, So, let's see. And then, I think, use it like applying hard science would be basically coming up with arguments how this was obviously engineered and did not happen on its own.
Good.
Let's see. I would like to use go back to the character sheet here. Can you use a talent and whatchamacallit, one of the things on the bottom?
Favor. Yeah. No, you can only add one D4 to your pool.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna throw in insight then.
Good.
So let's see. Should be 3d6, 1d8, and a d4.
Shocker.
Yep. Yep.
Cool. Thank you. And Horst, you're up.
So I get a D6 for my name.
Yep.
I don't think that capitalist applies, but conservation might apply because she wants to prevent the plants from, being an invasive species on Mars. So preservation, I think. I do have politics and schemes, which is a D8.
Yep.
Can I mark fatigue?
Yeah, you can mark fatigue. It will just give you another D6.
Okay, then. Well, why not?
Right.
Right, and it will be probably technology and engineering, and then the benefits could be. Well, could it be a perception again? Sounds a bit double.
Well, you had marked. It's fine. You had marked talents last time, but you can mark training this time.
Yeah, just because technology. Oh no, technology and engineering. Okay, and perception, which gives me, I think 3d6, a d8, and a d4.
Shocker. Yes.
Let me go to roll with me.
And once you click on those, Mike, would you like to walk us through your pool?
Okay. So let me clear my dice here. So I'm going to get a D6 for my name. Politics. I think I am using the fruits of my capitalist past here. So I think I'm going to mark a D6 for capitalism.
Yep.
Did we? I had to step out briefly during the talk because I got a phone call I had to take.
No worries. I named this. It's a politics and schemes.
Okay.
Domain. I loosely justified that. So you can mark fatigue to add your D8 if you like.
I am going to mark fatigue to add my perception and connection because I'm using my highly connected network that the whole colony is wired with.
Awesome.
And finally, I'm going to mark training with computers because that's my interface. So I'm going to take a D4.
Love it.
So I got 3d6, d8, d4. Wow.
Look at us. It only took us 5 minutes to get there. That's great. All right. Tori, you want to hit your roll?
Yep.
Ooh.
14. Oh, wait, nope, 13.
13. Yes. Nice try, though. When I said difficulty was 13, so you just squeaked it out, Solene. Darren, you want to roll?
Sorry, I got booted again. Hang on.
So weird. It never boots me.
Let's see. Okay. Yep, I did that. All right.
Oh, nice. I'm seeing an 11, 13. Wow. You guys are squeaking it out. That's fantastic. Hubert. Horst, you want to click roll? 15.
Ooh, nice.
And Mike. There we go. That's a 10.
Wow.
So I mean, if we wanted anyone to not win, it was Alexi, I guess. But still, it's a shame. So you get to narrate your what this looks like. Technically, you are suffering, so you will suffer some kind of narrative cost. If I were playing a longer version of this game, I would apply a mechanical cost. It's hard to remember to be a fan of Tech Bros.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Tech Bros. I am happy to narrate this not working whatsoever.
What went wrong?
So Alexi is typing away. He's got this telemetry coming in, and the first thing that goes wrong is so he sends up one of the he sends up like a copter, like a quadcopter that has like some manipulating arms that would normally do to like fix stuff that's up by the dome, and so it fly. So he flies that up there, but because he's running so many things at once, he's getting a little distracted, and he's not. And so this copter actually clips the dome. I mean, it goes into the vine that the tendril that's going up there.
Nice.
But instead of using the clippers, it actually hits the rotors, and it does cut a bit of the tendril, but then that causes the thing to just kind of spiral out of control and just slams down into the atrium below, and while he's doing that, he took his attention away from one of the crawlers in one of the ventilation systems. And again, that one's mostly working, but then suddenly he loses feed to that, presumably as one of the tendril, like one of the plant tendrils in hyper accelerated growth, goes into one of the things, and he just suddenly starts losing telemetry from all of his devices, and he's got this really frantic, bug-eyed look, and he's just ranting this combination of positive platitudes and this is how it this but and this is how and this is the power of technology and how it's showing that and he just reaches up and turns off his webcam.
That was great. Thanks, Mike. Celine, let's do you next. How do you succeeded here, so you successfully deal with the plant. What does this look like?
So she runs into the hydroponics lab and hits a panic button that's installed in most of the colony rooms, modules that just shuts down all the doors, and the plant is still growing, but she has a spark of inspiration, and she goes to the temperature controls and she turns it down to borderline freezing levels and just waits for the air conditioning to come on, and it starts blowing the cool air directly on the plant. The plant slowly stops growing. And she just takes a deep breath. She's hopefully that's okay for now.
Nice. Yeah, and I think not only that, but as the plant kind of slows, it's almost like it needed to move to live. And now that it is no longer moving, maybe it's starting to shrivel a little bit as well. Is there a little bit of heartbreak here for Celine as she realizes that her life's work has caused this catastrophe, and maybe she won't be able to study the plant anymore? How does Celine deal with that?
You can still study a dead plant.
All right. I love it.
You get the seeds.
Wait, does she have seeds for this thing?
Well, it's a humongous plant. It's got to have seeds, right?
Oh, maybe it does. Yeah.
He'll just replant in a safer place, in a very secure place.
Was there anything that you noticed amiss that might explain what happened to this thing?
So she'll go over to the computer that monitors like the nutrient levels for all of the hydroponics trays, and notice there was a spike in energy levels that weren't there before she had left. So either something had been introduced into the soil, or something had like gotten through the atmosphere filters, or like the water filters, and the plant was consuming it.
Okay. Some sort of foreign nutrient had come in. Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah, something that wasn't on like the daily, like we weren't feeding myself. It wasn't on their like daily feeding regimen for the plant. Like they get a certain type of nutrient every week or so, and they get watered at a certain time of day every day. But there was a spike that shouldn't have been there in the monitors, and whether it was someone put it there or it came through via the nutrient system or via the water system is unclear.
And we will cut to Hubert, who discovers the source of this thing. You also rolled a success, Hubert. What did you discover that might point to someone sabotaging this particular area of hydroponics?
I'm thinking that he tries to look at the like data on the plant itself at first, and kind of gets overwhelmed, feels a little out of his element, and then he switches to wait a minute behavior. So he discovers some really bizarre stuff in the key card access
Nice.
records. Like Dr. Thibodeau's key card has obviously been cloned.
Okay.
And can cite things like, oh, look, she's in two places at once.
Right.
It's not possible. And just a lot of like strange access to the hydroponics area on top of that. So he opens the floor to wild accusations.
Say that last word again.
Oh, just, kind of opens the floor to wild accusations.
Does he have a theory as who it might be?
Maybe, people who would prefer for this to not be, it needs to be a little less scientific and a little more from an economic lens, and it needs to be it needs to go faster.
Nice.
More cautiously.
Which gives me an idea. I think maybe you also are realizing that none of the first 100 could have been responsible. Like you're seeing evidence where it's like it would be hard, like you can account for everyone else pretty easily. So it's a little unclear who this could have been. And in fact, it's Isbel in going and securing the dome that discovers evidence of a stowaway who was on the ship with you. Horst, would that be okay?
That could be okay. I mean, I had an idea about
Go
how
for it.
she. So, I mean, her goal was to secure the dome, and whether or
Right.
not that was, in fact, the like the step that saved the colony, because actually, Celine, I think, prevented the plants to grow through to destroy the dome itself. But I think Isabel made sure that the last picture that Alexi's drone shot was her being in a position where, if had something gone wrong, she had the foresight and the intelligence to prepare for all contingencies. So obviously her goal was to be the hero who saved the day, and in order to being broadcast to Earth even, by being a leader that can make tough decisions and is resourceful, might give her an advantage in the politics game.
Okay. So was there something in particular that she discovered?
I mean, is that like the bonus of winning the contest? She definitely could have discovered the stowaway
Okay.
that you mentioned.
Is there something in particular besides saving the dome, which you could frame this as a collaborative effort to kind of save the colony? How did you message things to maybe push your agenda ahead?
As I said, I think her agenda is to become maybe like a leading figure to establish like a hierarchy, and by presenting herself as the resourceful leader, she made a good point in being the perfect person for like a hierarchical position that puts her above others.
Nice. That was great. Yeah, and I think the timing of this in some ways couldn't be better, because maybe the colony was about to hold, or is like in a week's time going to hold elections, and so to kind of establish these roles of leadership roles, and so whether there's a stowaway or not, maybe the sabotage was created to sort of give, if not Isabel, then someone an opportunity to shine, so that to kind of skew the elections one way or another.
I mean, if I could see Isabel having introduced the nutrient in order to, and maybe even prepared all the measures that she took beforehand in order to win the elections.
She had laid all this groundwork, including sabotaging the plants.
And maybe even, I don't know, don't want to get crazy, but why did the super drone of Alexi that normally works perfectly well?
Perfectly. Yeah. It's flawless technology. So, yeah. Friends, we are at the conclusion. We're getting close to the end of our session here. I feel a little badly that we were not able to do more than 2 big scenes, but I hope it gave you a taste of Paragon System. I hope it gave you a taste of the game. I would love to do some epilogues, if that is okay with you all, and here, maybe once the colony becomes established, where does your character end up? What are they doing now? So I'm going to just go in character keeper order. So Horst, where's Isabel now?
Well, after winning the election and putting her plans in place, she actually established a smaller colony, and she got probably tired of the job. And she's a very energetic person with a new idea every couple of weeks. She established a new colony based on free market principles in the lava tube. She got the genetic code of the fast-growing plants, and tries to sell them to the colony.
Nice. It's funny. I read this book, Red Mars, years ago, and I've been trying to design a game for it ever since. And I forget all the details of the book, but just playing this game is reminding me of some of the plot points of that book, where they did kind of spin off a colony and kind of go off and separate themselves. So, Horst, that was awesome. Thank you. Mike, you're next. Where does Alexi end up in all of this?
So I think after a couple of years, after some elections, I think Alexei felt himself in Isbel's shadow and did not particularly like that feeling, because he's used to being in a position where he gets to call all the shots. So I think after a couple of years on the Mars colony, I think Alexei takes I think Alexei leaves the Mars colony and goes back to Earth, raises a whole lot more money, and this time to start a completely technological space colony. He wants to build. He's getting money to build a giant space station at the L2 Lagrange point.
Love it. He's like, why even bother with a planet? I'll just build my own.
Build the whole. We're going to build it. The problem with running a planet is it's a planet and it's got so many of its own systems that you got to take care of. We're going to build our own. We're going to build our own giant space station, and and I see like an older Alexei, like basically on a TED Talk stage, shooting a laser pointer at this big image that comes up, and it's a high-tech version, and it looks for all the world like the space station from like 2001: A Space Odyssey,
right?
Like the two rings, yeah.
Right. That's awesome. Very cool. Thank you, Mike. Tori, your turn. What happens to Celine?
So Celine takes the seeds from the weird plant that has now gone haywire. Does decide to splice it with some of the crops that they were trying to grow on Mars, and manages to plant it in the soil. They still need covering over the plants because the plants still need some type of atmosphere. But over the years, technology develops to the point where it's not solid barriers anymore. It's the atmosphere barriers for the plants are a little more, what we think of as sci-fi-ish. So you can actually walk through them. But as the terraforming area grows and the plants can produce more atmosphere for humans to live in as they consume the CO2 and produce oxygen, the space within Mars that is habitable expands. And she oversees this expansion because it's all dependent on plants.
Nice.
And she keeps having to push away the companies. They're like, we got to get in there and get our stuff in there and sell to the people. And it's like, if you destroy what we've built and destroy too much of the world that is Mars, it will no longer be habitable because plant life is what is making this habitable.
Did she suffer any kind of fallout or setback because this was her plant that kind of wreaked this havoc?
She was sued. She was sued for damages to the colony.
You can get sued on Mars.
But she was also, this was also a huge breakthrough because it, it was never discovered that Isbell was behind
Right.
The nutrient injection, or else she wouldn't have been elected.
Covered her tracks real well. Yeah.
So Celine got all the credit for finding and developing this species of plant that could survive and thrive on Mars. So Celine thinks of it as a happy accident.
Does Celine know that Isbell did this?
She knows someone or something did it, and it wasn't her.
But she doesn't care.
For the good of humanity, doesn't care.
Love it. Darren, that brings us to you. Where does Hubert end up?
I think his kind of original mission gets diverted a little bit because he feels like the other projects are a big threat to sort of the original vision of Mars for all humans. And becomes kind of more of a security person and sort of a rabble rouser, and wants to know who's behind some of this stuff back on Earth, like who on Earth is causing some of these schisms on Mars.
So he becomes more of a detective, like he wants to try and figure out what influence Earth is having on Martian politics.
Yeah, also just sort of he stirs the pot a lot too. Like he
Nice.
tries to get stuff on media on Earth about this, and get as many people both on Mars and on Earth behind the idea of funneling resources to the more neutral project that he was, the original one.
Nice. Friends, I think we're at the end, so we would, if you don't mind staying just a couple minutes longer, we like to do at the end of our games stars and wishes. Obviously, we're playing a one shot, so wishes is not so much for next time, but if you've got one or two small pieces of feedback from me, I know we're running out of time, that would be fantastic. And I love doing stars and wishes at the end of my sessions. So why don't we go now back in reverse character keeper order. So Darren, can I put you on the spot to go first for stars and wishes?
Oh, no, I don't feel on the spot at all. Stars, I really enjoyed this group. It seems like people brought individual ideas and sort of like fiction they'd read and like personal knowledge and stuff to the game, which was really interesting.
Nice.
And I don't know if this would really be wishes or whatnot, but I think what might be cool in a game like this is, let's say we start before the drilling, and it's the committee that is kind of allocating resources and people to the drilling, and sort of the how that can go from just a sort of a dry logistics exercise to like a knife fight in a phone booth when people's agendas start coming up.
Got it.
I don't know, that was just
I appreciate the thought. Yeah, it's a different kind of game, so like I'm really open to ideas on sort of how to draw some of that stuff in. Great, thank you for that. Tori, you're up. Stars and wishes.
These are always really tough to come up with.
What was one thing that you really liked about this session? And if-
maybe sorry, I'm just like terrible with coming up with things on the spot.
that's totally
Do you want me to help
like
you with feedback?
my
Sam?
mind just went like blank of everything we've done in the last 3 hours.
totally fine. What is there? Is there anything that if you were to play this game again, or if I were to run this game again, you think I should do differently?
I mean, I would have liked to get more into the politics of it, just because we didn't touch on that too much. It was very action oriented, but I feel like in a one shot, you got to kind of get into the action, or that's you only have a one shot to impress upon the game, so it's tough to get into the slower parts of a game, and politics can be a slower part. I did appreciate that you took my plant idea.
Oh, yeah, you gave me a thing and I ran with it. I tried to anyway. Yeah, I agree with the politics. It was harder than I thought to kind of drop that in. And that's on me to kind of try and find ways to bring that in. One of the things I've noticed about character creation here is that it doesn't generate NPCs, which are usually good playthings, right, for us to draw into, and to create stakes. And I just didn't have enough of that here. So it's something that's top of mind for me, because stakes with individuals becomes politics at a bigger level. So story-wise. So that's a great thought. Thank you. Mike, you're up. Stars and wishes.
Stars all around. This is really this is really, really super fun. I really enjoyed playing with all of you. I've played with I think I've played with everyone but Horst at least once before, and it was really a pleasure playing with you, Horst. Unless I'm forgetting, we played at one point in the past. So it was really great playing with everyone. I think everyone had really interesting characters. This, and I think we had some great moments. Horst, I think if this game were to go on, I definitely think that Isabel and Alexei would really come to blows, because they're similar characters that had similar objectives that were mutually exclusive.
I mean, as a libertarian, you believe in competition, and there can only be one winner.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm sure if we'd played a couple more games, Alexei's gun would have come into play.
Would he become the first sovereign citizen on Mars?
Oh, something like that.
Mike, any wishes or thoughts for next time?
A couple of wishes, and this is only the second Paragon game I've played, and
both with me, sadly.
Both with you. Both with you. One thing that I've seen, I've actually heard this from other people that have played Aegon and other Paragon games, is so Aegon's designed to be kind of like a competitive role-playing game where you're trying to build your personal renown. But at the same time, I found that I wish we had more direct role-playing opportunities. Because it seems that the way when you build the dice pool and you roll the dice pool, it's like you're kind of telling your own story on how you do this, and then everyone rolls, and then we kind of figure it out. There doesn't seem to be quite as many opportunities for direct interpersonal role playing, and part of that is this is a 3-hour one shot, and an hour of which was character was rules overview, safety tools, and character creation. So we really only had 2 hours to play here. So we really didn't have a lot of space for that to happen. But I have noticed that in the past couple, in the two that I've played. I've heard that as general feedback about the about the Paragon system, is that it doesn't do quite as much to draw in direct role playing off of each other, because you don't have those. You don't have those kinds of scenes like you have in Powered by the Apocalypse or even in trad games. And I'm not sure if that's I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's it's a different thing. It's a different kind of game. And so I think from my perspective, I wish this game kind of gave more opportunity where we could kind of bounce off each other and see, and kind of see how that goes. But that's not really how the game is structured.
Yeah.
So that's kind of all I wanted to say on this. I had a blast. This is super, super fun. I
Great.
would totally play again. I would love to play another session of this game with these characters.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate the thoughts. And Horst, bring us home. Stars and wishes.
I would like to give a star to Mike for volunteering to miserably fail in the last contest, and enjoying it somehow a little bit. Hopefully, that was awesome. Thanks, Dan, for running this. Obviously, you have a very sexy voice, which is good for a for a GM.
I'll let my wife know you said that. Yes.
Okay. And wishes, maybe I'm a trad gamer at heart, but I could imagine just having free role play without it being in the rules. Like you could have, you can have a scene where the characters talk about the mission beforehand and express their political beliefs, just in a free role playing, like in Blades in the Dark, where you have free role play as part of the structure. But my biggest wish was probably to play with the four of you. I'm sorry. Again in this setting and see how Isbel will rule the planet.
That was great. Of course, that was really good feedback. It's funny. Yesterday, I ran another Paragon system game, and it was set in the "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" kind of style. And we had a lot more character interaction. And I think I did a better job of kind of bringing in intermittent scenes to let the characters kind of unpack and think about sort of where they were and what they wanted and what their aspirations were. And so you all are giving me some ideas on how to draw that in. I am running this game in November for 3 sessions because of Thanksgiving, though I may extend that into December. So we run 6 or 7 sessions of this because I really want to give it some room to breathe. That game is full, but if you want, you can sign up for the wait list. People are always dropping from this thing. So friends, I cannot thank you enough for trying this game out with me. I know it was a big risk, but I had a lot of fun. I was so glad to meet all of these characters, to play with 3 of you again, and Tori, to meet you for the first time. So thanks again for that. Is it okay if I post the recording? That's all right?
Sure.
All right, friends. Then we will wrap it up there. Thanks so much, and have a good GCOG weekend.
Thanks for running, Dan. Great seeing everyone.
Yep.
Have a
Bye
great
now.
time. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.